I believe that you helped the administration take us to like the most devastating mistake in foreign policy that we've made in like 100 years. But you seem lovely. You wrote an article, this is September 8th, 2011, right? This was the big article. It said, U.S. says Hussein intensifies quest for A-bomb parts. You mean Michael Gordon and I wrote an article? Sure. Yeah. Front page of the New York Times next to a giant picture of Never Forget 9/11. It was right around the first, there it is, in memory of 9/11, front page. The information came from the Bush administration, yes? Broadly speaking, yes. John, were we not supposed to report what it was that had the community, the intelligence community, so nervous about Saddam? No, you should have reported it, though, in the context that this administration was very clearly pushing a narrative. And by losing sight of that context, by not reporting... I think we did. The story said we did. Wholeheartedly disagree with you. Well, that's what makes journalism. I mean... It's actually not what makes journalism, so let's continue with this. Let's continue with this. You don't run with, you run with the story when David Albright doesn't call you back. He calls you back on that Tuesday and says, there's something wrong with this. Right. You don't put that in that article. Why? I did put it in. I said that the community was divided. I didn't quote David Albright. He said you could quote him by name. Yes, he did. Why didn't you? I think the story got cut for space.
The New York Times, they have a new campaign, advertising campaign, and it says, truth, it comes at a cost. But the lies are still free, right? Right? The truth, it comes at a cost. If you're looking to do actual journalism, it's going to cost you your job at the New York Times. Yeah. Because let's remember what a publication the New York Times is. Oh. The truth, it comes at a cost. And even if it isn't true, we're going to print it above the fold on the front. And the person who does that's going to get it promoted to an on-air job at Fox News. How about that? So, Judith Miller, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the New York goddamn Times. Is she at Fox News now? Yeah.
The New York Times reporter Judith Miller sat down with Bill Maher to discuss her controversial history. For those of you who don't know, she's the so-called liberal who did a pro-Iraq war segment, or article, I should say. And Dick Cheney used that article to basically make his case for war on all the media outlets, and he did so effectively. So he did the old... Well, it's not just conservatives saying we should go to war in Iraq. It's also, look, we have the liberal Judith Miller over at the liberal New York Times. Even they agree we need to go to Iraq. So why are we debating this anymore? Liberals and conservatives agree. It's unanimous. Let's do it. So it was very damning what she did. And she's going to be very, very flippant about it here. And she's also going to try to defend her record. Let's watch.
But, I mean, if I could quote from your Wall Street Journal article that you wrote, plugging your book, you said, no, you're being sarcastic. You said, I took America to war in Iraq. It was all me.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously.
So here's just a segment of stuff that will never appear on American television.
يضربوا المدنيين يعني؟ ايه مدنيين اللي كله هذا بيت عمنا كله مدنيين هم عسكريين كله مدنيين يضربون.
A lot of people didn't know that was sarcasm.
Seriously?
Seriously, I got a lot of people saying thank you for finally acknowledging.
Wow.
And I said, well,
that's powerful, stupid.
It really is.
Yeah, that's extremely stupid, and I always say it's a stupid country, but they never cease to shock me.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I didn't want to hog the credit. I wanted to give a little to the President of the United States.
But, I mean... Well, okay, but here's what you also said, and this is also you're being sarcastic. Well, okay, you say, I had some help from a duplicitous vice president, Dick Cheney. There was George W. Bush, a gullible president who wanted to avenge his father. Then you say, and don't forget the neoconservatives who cherry-picked intelligence about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction and fed it to reporters like me.
As Director Tenet has pointed out, Secretary Powell presented evidence last week that Baghdad has failed to disarm its weapons of mass destruction, willfully attempting to evade and deceive the international community. Our particular concern is that Saddam Hussein may supply terrorists with biological, chemical, or radiological material.
And then you say none of these assertions happens to be true. Right. The reason I might have some trouble with your credibility is that I think all these assertions are true. I think Dick Cheney is duplicitous. I think George Bush is gullible. I think he was trying to avenge his father. I think neocons did cherry-pick intelligence. Why should I believe you if I don't believe any of these assertions?
Because the information they got from the intelligence community as opposed to those who wanted to go to war, every administration has hawks and doves or hawks and pragmatists. But the information they got was with high confidence that Saddam Hussein had biological and chemical weapons, and moderate confidence that he did not yet have a nuclear weapon. Now, if you're the president or the vice president in charge of securing the country after 9/11, and you've had an anthrax attack that has killed people and shut down post offices.
Not by Iraq.
No. But if you've had all that and you're responsible for the country, and your intelligence community says, hey, this guy, really bad, 17 UN resolutions complaining about his lack of candor and his lack of complying with the promises he made, you're going to believe
we all know he's a bad guy, but the world is full of bad guys. But,
right.
I mean,
not all with WMD. Which, of course, he didn't have.
You've made that point for me.
3, 2, 1, and we're back. What's up? How are you?
We're back. Aloha, I'm good. Nice to be back here.
When you first came here, you were thinking about running for president. Now you're out there.
We're all in.
It's happening.
Yes.
Are you nervous?
No.
Is it weird?
No.
No?
Not at all.
None of it? Do you feel like this is like destiny?
No.
So how does it not feel weird?
I'm on a mission.
Oh.
I'm on a mission. You know, there's a lot of issues I think we're going to talk about why I'm running for president. But being out and connecting with people all across this country, bringing this message really of ending these wasteful, destructive foreign policies that have been so costly on the American people for so long, costly on our troops, costly on our veterans, ending these wasteful regime change wars, ending this new Cold War and nuclear arms race, and taking the trillions of dollars that we've been spending on these programs and that we will continue to spend if the status quo is allowed to continue, and investing those dollars back into serving the people in our communities.
So, oh boy. I believe that you helped the administration take us to like the most devastating mistake in foreign policy that we've made in like 100 years. But you seem lovely. You wrote an article, this is September 8th, 2011, right? This was the big article. It said, U.S. says Hussein intensifies quest for A-bomb parts.
You mean Michael Gordon and I wrote an article?
Sure. Yeah. Front page of the New York Times next to a giant picture of Never Forget 9/11. It was right around the first, there it is, in memory of 9/11, front page. The information came from the Bush administration, yes?
Broadly speaking, yes. John, were we not supposed to report what it was that had the community, the intelligence community, so nervous about Saddam?
No, you should have reported it, though, in the context that this administration was very clearly pushing a narrative. And by losing sight of that context, by not reporting...
I think we did. The story said we
wholeheartedly disagree with you.
Well, that's what makes journalism. I mean,
it's
look,
actually not what makes journalism. So let's continue with this.
Let's continue.
So you don't run with, you run with the story when David Albright doesn't call you back. He calls you back on that Tuesday and says, there's something wrong with this.
Right.
You don't put that in that article. Why?
I did put it in. I said that the community was divided. I didn't quote David Albright.
He said you could quote him by name.
Yes, he did.
Why didn't you?
I think the story got cut for space. But I didn't, look.
But the standard of proof in all this seems much higher on the side of this is not an issue and they're not a threat, and much lower on the side of you're being fed.
But that's what the intelligence community believed.
That's what they were feeding you. They created...
No, that's what they believed, John.
All right. Well, we're never going to see eye to eye on it. I mean, I appreciate you coming on the program. These discussions always make me incredibly sad because I feel like they point to institutional failure at the highest levels, and no one will take responsibility for it.
I think they point
to... They pass the buck to every individual other than themselves.
I think they point to intelligence failures that I still worry about every day, because we're still relying on the same intelligence communities to give us information about Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, and the other countries that we have to deal with.
Well, hopefully, given the same effort, we'll get to invade all of them soon.
I hope we won't.
Speaking of which, remember this guy? General Ricardo Sanchez, the commander of coalition forces in Iraq from 2003 to 2004.
There is tremendous progress going on in Iraq. They're making progress politically, economically, and definitely in security. We're not in a quagmire. The progress is unbelievable.
I like the cut of his soundbite. He's optimistic. Hey, what's he doing now?
There is no question that America is living a nightmare with no end in sight.
It seems retired General Sanchez has a bit of a different opinion than General Sanchez.
There has been a glaring, unfortunate display of incompetent strategic leadership within our national leaders. Our National Security Council has been a failure. There is nothing going on today in Washington that would give us hope.
Yes, even Dick don't know Dick. Obviously, the vice president has been a steadfast supporter of the decision to invade Iraq and remove Saddam Hussein. But can you guess which American political figure in 1994 was not?
Do you think that the U.S. or UN forces should have moved into Baghdad?
No. Once you got to Iraq and took it over and took down Saddam Hussein's government, then what are you going to put in its place?
If you said Dick Cheney, you were right. And you're also probably angry. But 1994, Cheney makes an interesting point. If you took down Saddam's regime, what would you put in its place? It's the sort of question you could ponder for, say, 9 years and still not come up with an answer. After all, it's very complicated over there.
That's a very volatile part of the world, and if you take down the central government in Iraq, you can easily end up seeing pieces of Iraq fly off. It's a quagmire.
I also want to say I think Americans need to be heart smart, watch their cholesterol, and otherwise that could lead to a lot of problems. And I also want to, just before I go here, as 1994 Dick Cheney, want to stress the importance of hunting safety. I just want to, especially, and I can't say this enough, if there's happens to be an old man with you, is there anything else you want to add, sir?
How many additional dead Americans is Saddam worth? And our judgment was not very many, and I think we got it right.
Then later, our judgment was lots, and we got that right, too.